Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Rodney's Life Lessons. Today I'm going to talk about my diet and what I currently intake. That's going to include pharmaceuticals and the whole gamut. So, as I spoke in an earlier video, in my introduction video, and my near-death experience video, I, at the age of 19, had a very serious motorcycle accident. I actually died on the scene, changed my life. I lost complete use of my right arm, and then I had that arm amputated 6 years later at the elbow. So I'm 56 now. That happened when I was 19. And since 19 and 25 I had it amputated, I've suffered excruciating phantom limb pain. Like, I've broken bones in my body and the phantom limb pain is worse. Like, my hair, see, it was white. I'm only 56. This should not be white. This is white because of the pain that I go through. Now, there's many things about that pain. Pain is a driving factor. Pain initiates change, right? So, this goes to me learning Reiki. I had somebody take that pain away by doing Reiki on me. So I learned Reiki. And now, if I'm feeling pain, I can just do some self-Reiki and it takes that pain away immediately, faster than any pharmaceutical. So it's very life-changing. So back to diet. I grew up meat and potatoes kind of guy, small town, Port McNeill, loggers, fishermen, miners, rednecky, very rednecky. I used to mock tree huggers, hippies and people that were all woo-woo and stuff. And now I are one. Kind of funny, right? Isn't that the way life usually works? So I grew up meat and potatoes. I had no interest in being vegetarian or vegan. I thought that was just silly. And then the journey began on my healing. This last 20 years, I would say, my 30s, started reading spiritual books, going to meetings with spiritual people, actually one-on-one, having tea with some authors and stuff, and really dove into it deeply, but still had the same dietary, meat, and I really had no other way of looking at it. It's food, right? I just saw it as food. I actually grew up as a hunter. I actually bagged deer and grouse and harvested, as they like to politically correct it. So you're not saying you slaughtered an innocent animal, right? And we have a way of doing that. We have a way of making ourselves feel better when we do something that makes another person, individual, animal feel bad. But anyways, the main thing from all of this takeaway is I don't judge your diet. I don't judge anybody else's diet. I progressively advanced to the state that I am now, which is vegan. So going back probably only 4 or 5 years ago, I, more spiritual, and I believe a lot of this came from the time that I spent with Christine Jack near Lillooet, the St'át'imc Nation, who they made me an honorable member of, which was quite an honor. I spent some time with her up on the mountain, alone in the cabin. That's a story I'll share some time about the grizzly bear. I'll make another video about that. And then I moved to the Sunshine Coast of the west coast of British Columbia, Sechelt, Gibsons, Roberts Creek, Powell River area. It's called the Sunshine Coast. And it's called that for a reason. It gets the most sun out of any part of Canada. It's really beautiful. They used to call it the Sunshine Coast Riviera. It was a tourist destination and still is a tourist destination. An absolutely beautiful, beautiful part of the world. So I lived there in a homeless camp. I built my own shelter. I touched on that, a pyramid structure from tarps. And I really, really connected with Mother Earth. I actually said to Mother Earth, I says, Mother, you're either going to wake me up or I'm going to die out here. I just had that feeling, right? Just, because there's bears wandering around and extreme cold, 20 below zero outside, and I'm sleeping outside in a shelter made of tarps. But I was warm. And Mother did wake me. There were times that I literally saw beings step out from one dimension 5 feet away and step back. My heart almost jumped right through my throat. It's like, oh my goodness. But these are things. The more that you connect with the spiritual world, the more of the spiritual world will be shown to you. So I moved off the mountain. The hippies I was with, they wanted me to move into the house. They said, you got nothing to prove, come live with us. So I did. And then within a month, they kicked me out, saying, we want one of our hippie friends to live here. You're not one of us, kind of thing. And I'm really not. So then I lived with hoarders, the worst house I've ever lived in. Knee-high garbage, rats running around. Rat literally ran over my foot as I was sitting on the toilet. Not a nice place. And then I moved into the affordable housing in Sechelt, run by an organization called Rain City. And, I kudos to them. They may do some things poorly, but they do provide housing. And for that, I am very, very grateful. They provide housing and meals and internet and laundry, all for free. All for free. So I literally had a chef cooking my own meals for me, and I'm very, very grateful because of that. And while I was there, I started to, because of the time with Christine Jack and in the homeless camp, I'd really connected to Mother Earth. And that includes all of our animal brothers and sisters of all kinds. The crawling, the swimming, the flying, the winging, all of them. And I started, when I started eating meat, as I always did, I started feeling the fear. I go, what is this? Because when an animal, they know what's going to happen. They know they're going to get slaughtered and butchered. They see their friends in front of them. It's absolutely terrifying. There's videos where they're crying and crying like a baby and tears running down their face. Everybody wants to live. Everything wants to live. So, and again, I don't judge you. If you eat meat, that is your prerogative, right? This is just my story, and this is what I experienced. So I started feeling that fear, and like, this is not good, man. And then I started seeing them. I started seeing visions of like a cow, like looking at me, and it's like, why? What have I ever? And I just couldn't eat meat ever again. And that's probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I made that decision. And I went vegetarian. Because as long as I don't eat the flesh, I was okay with that. So I would still eat eggs and cheese and milk and all the stuff that vegetarians eat. I just wouldn't eat the flesh of my animal brothers and sisters. And then, so 3 years ago, I was vegetarian. And then, as I've shared in some of my earlier videos, I've used plant medicine in a ceremonial setting quite often. And one particular experience I will share, even though I said I wouldn't share about my experience. I came into a vision, right? You have a drumming track going, eyes are closed, dark room. This is not an open visual. This is your mind's eye. This is the spirits visiting you in your mind's eye. And I was in sort of the cosmos. It was kind of like a space sort of scene. And there was these, 5, 10 beings milling around. They weren't interacting with me. And then they became very upright, like they came to attention, like someone's here. And someone was there. It was my highest version of self, comes walking into the picture. I could tell it was me too. It wasn't exactly me, but it felt regal in many ways. And then this being stares and looks at me, right? It's like, holy cow. Um, and said more or less to me, says, "What are you doing with all this cannabis, Rodney?" He says, "You have work to do." Because I was smoking literally an ounce a week. I was growing this stuff. It's like, you have work to do, so cut it out. And get your diet in order too. You have work to do. And it was very firm and rebuking to me. And so there was, a beautiful video. One of the three most powerful plant medicine experiences I've ever had. My highest version of self spoke directly to me, looked me right in the eyes, and gave me shit. It really did. It was profound. And so the next day, I shut down my grow op and I went vegan. Now, it's a health thing as well. There's a man named Dr. Sebi. I encourage you all to look him up. And he speaks about, it's like electric foods. If you search how foods have different characteristics as far as how much energy they hold. So the higher vibrational food you eat, the higher vibrational you become. The lower vibrational, like processed foods and junk food and McDonald's, the lower vibrational you become. There's a direct correlation. What you eat, you become. And this is science, right? I'm not making this stuff up. So I followed his diet for probably a year. I actually printed off the foods that were okay to eat. And it really is like, that's it? Because there's, what it focuses on is an alkaline diet. Dr. Victor Otto in the 30s won a Nobel Peace Prize for discovering no disease, including cancer, can exist in an alkaline environment. Now, I don't have any disease, but I also don't want to get any disease, right? So when we have acidic, and it's not what you think, like a lemon isn't acidic. Sugar will make you acidic, right? So I focused on eating high vibrational alkaline foods. And I bought an electronic device that you could, do a p-test on, and it would show your pH. So a pH from 7 to 7.5 is where we want to stay. We want to stay slightly alkaline. Not so much neutral, but just slightly. Like, you can't go too far, because that is really bad for you. Just like if you go too acidic, it's too bad for you. But you want to be a slightly alkaline environment. Like, there's really science to this. This is not just I'm going to eat this way because I think it's right and I think everybody else is wrong. It's like, no, this is proven. Like, Dr. Sebi made claims that he could cure heart disease, he could cure cancer, and he could cure diabetes. And the FDA took him to court. They charged him, and he won because he proved that he can indeed cure cancer. Like, you say something like this out loud, and the FDA will shut you down. Because, like, Canada, for instance, announced probably a decade ago that they had discovered the cure for cancer. They announced this, and Big Pharma was not interested. The cures are out there. My mom passed from cancer. I'm sure we all know somebody who has passed from cancer. It is not a death warrant. You can beat this. There are many, many ways. My wife works at an alternative cancer treatment center where they use diet and vitamin C injections. Works at another place where they use hyperbaric chamber, red light therapy. There are many ways, and pharmaceuticals and chemotherapy and radiation are not one of those ways. Again, this is my opinion, but this is an educated opinion. I know people who work in the field. I know people who have died. Give an instance, I know I was treating somebody for cancer, and this was in a natural way. And during the time that I was treating that person, 2 people we knew succumbed, died from cancer as they went the radiation and chemotherapy route. This destroys your immune system. And the people that survive, they say, oh, the chemo worked. No, it didn't work. You just have a really strong immune system, and you're able to battle off both the disease and the treatment. Doctors have made claims, not your average doctor, that if you want to stay healthy, stay away from doctors. This is true. Because when you I, through my injury and my high blood pressure and my high cholesterol, which I have all treated through diet, like you change your diet and you heal yourself. It is that simple. And people say, oh, I can't give up sugar. I can't give up bacon. Well, it's like, what are the alternatives? You're going to die. If you don't, you have to have some willpower, people. We really do. Everything begins at the end of your fork. And I'm not kidding, and it's not corny, but it's true. So since I've gone vegan a couple years ago now, I have really never felt healthier. There's been nothing I've craved. See, one of the important things is when you make dramatic change, you have to do the research. Like what sort of, like vitamin B12, you need to take a supplement because it's really hard to get that from any plant-based substances. So you take a supplement, right? So there are some amino acids, and there's things that you need to look into. And one of the things that a lot of people you eat a big mound of salad and they're still hungry. That's because they didn't get any fats. Eat an avocado and you're completely satisfied. There's literally nothing that I miss. I mean, there's sushi that I liked, but now I can just get, avocado or mango sushi. We can make the choice. We can make the decision to change our life, to get our health in order. It really is up to us. Don't go to the doctor and say, I'm feeling poor, what can you give me? That's what I used to do. Do you have a pill for that? Do you have a pill for that? 16 pills a day later, and you start feeling toxic. You really, really do. Like I was being poisoned. And you do. I really felt like this is ridiculous. And I weaned myself off all of those things. Like the high cholesterol, they give you statins, which it destroys your health. High blood pressure, I can tell you how to treat that without taking any medication. Get a juicer. First thing you want to try is celery. Juice about 5 individual stalks of celery and drink that. That'll lower your systolic and your diastolic anyway 5-10 points per side. That'll lower, from 180 over 160 to down to 170 over 150, which is still high, right? So that's what I did initially, and I said, okay, I need a little bit more. So what I discovered, and this is through years of research, again with the juicer, you get an apple, doesn't really matter what kind, a sweet is nicer, a good sized beet, a full size beet or a couple small ones, and 3 or 4 carrots. And you juice all that, and you drink it once a day. And that is going to bring your systolic and your diastolic down 20 to 30 points either side. So you now go from 180 to 150 and 50 to 120. And these are acceptable ranges. I'm not kidding. Try it yourself. I have a blood pressure cuff. I have a juicer. I literally, my blood pressure is a bit high. I take the juiced mixture, and now my blood pressure is not high anymore. And then your body doesn't have to fight off the pharmaceuticals, because your body has to heal twice, once from the ailment and once from the pharmaceutical. This is what doctors will tell you, naturopathic doctors. So I'm now vegan. My beautiful wife, Sherry, has been vegan since she was a teenager. So some of the food is some of the best food I've ever had. And people think you just eat like a rabbit. It's like, no, you don't. There's all sorts of things. There's grains and, avocados and pasta, and there's all sorts of food that you can eat, and it's just absolutely delicious. And one of the beautiful things, for the most part, like you can get some vegan cheese, which is made from cashew, and you can make a meal feel heavy. But you know, you eat a heavy meal and and you got to lay down and let the food digest. You don't get that when you eat vegan. You get energized. It's your body is like taking in a food that it can use. It doesn't have to process out the poisons. You don't have to excrete 50% of the food because it's not used. It doesn't add to your waistline. You don't, increase your cholesterol, increase your blood pressure by eating chemicals. So I've never felt better. I'm 56 and, I got a spring in my step. And yes, I'm very much in love and in a beautiful part of the world, but my diet plays a huge part of that. So I encourage all of you to at least consider. Maybe, one thing to start is cut out sugar. Or better yet, go 5 days with no sugar. Like no sugar. None in your coffee, no ice cream, no sweets. You can do it 5 days. And then, say over the weekend, for 2 days, eat as much sugar as you want. As much as you want. Just peg out. I bet you're gonna damn near vomit. The thing is, sugar is our first addiction. They call it white death. It promotes and feeds cancer. It is one of the worst substances for us. And people say, I have a sweet tooth. No, you have an addiction. Like I worked in harm reduction, working with heroin addicts for over 3 years. Sugar lights up the same part of your brain as heroin does. I'm not kidding you. We would have some meetings and we would have, all you can drink soft drinks. And within that hour, you'd see some of those people lay down a 6-pack of Coca-Cola because it's slightly lighting up that part of their brain that their addiction needs fed. So there's a lot to this. There's really a lot. The Ayurvedic, they speak about it, different health, different spices. This is not some new age thing. There's many, many cultures that only eat plant-based. I was thinking of sharing a video where there's 15 to 20 of the wisest, most powerful prophets and spiritual leaders in this world are vegan. And they talk about, it'll come to a point where you'll see killing an animal is the same as killing a human being. That's where I feel. That's where I'm at. These are my brothers and sisters, all of them. The trees, the standing tall brothers and sisters. Who am I to just take and rape and pillage whatever I want to satisfy my needs? Right? We need to think of a wider scope, or a more sustainable scope. And think about your health. Think about people that you've lost, people that have died. I guarantee that if they changed their diet, they would have at least prolonged their lives. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, what you choose to eat is completely up to you. I'm not judging, I'm just saying what's worked for me, where I'm coming from, and why I feel the way I do. So I encourage you to like and subscribe and comment to this channel. I'm trying to reach a lot of people. I've gone through a lot, I've lived a lot, and I have a lot to share. Take care, everyone. Talk soon. Bye.